This is the Misdirected Mark Podcast, a podcast about gaming, game mastering, and entertaining you, our listeners. We are explicit, you have been warned, and I'd like to thank Mike Willard for letting us use his music on our show. Now let's pick up those mics and get on with this thing.
Yes, and welcome. We're back. We are back.
All right, gentlemen. Got everybody's drinks. Here you go, Jerry.
Thank you.
Scotch for you, Bob.
Thanks.
Of course, of course. Well, now that everyone's got a drink and we're all comfortable, I think we can do a little relaxing before the show.
So isn't there supposed to be some kind of misunderstanding?
Or a really bad pun?
Yeah.
Yeah, there isn't one, is there?
No, not really. I think we relaxed a little too much.
Yeah. But the salon is really comfy. I think we should start the show.
Yeah. Yeah, why don't we we don't have to be funny and punny all the time. Bob.
All right, I'm on it. Welcome to the second Salon episode of the Misdirected Mark Podcast. Tonight we remain in the salon talking about the gaming going on in our lives, and then it's off for a bit of time in the conversation corner. But first, I'm Old Man Logan.
I'm GM Gerrymander.
And my name is Phil.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right, folks. How are we doing?
Well, Bob?
I'm feeling okay. It's day 4,322 of that's what it feels like, but as we've stated before, there are good days and there are bad days. The last couple of days have been some of the better ones. So that's not bad. I'm feeling kind of productive. Made some slow cooker chicken and rice today, and got that
awesome
packed up for meals for later in the week. And so pretty good day. How you feeling, Phil?
I think I'm okay. I'm like the eternal okay, right? Mm-hmm. Like pretty much every day is just like mostly okay. Work's been kind of junky. I'm not thrilled. I'm not thrilled with it right now.
Yeah.
I'm having some difficulties in one of my projects, and I'm wrestling with it. Like I'm wrestling with my bosses and stakeholders and all that stuff. So I'm dealing with that, and it's okay. Just trying to get by. But otherwise, I think I'm all right. All right.
Well,
so, what about? Sorry, I'm trying to hunt around to find the chat room on my browser. Yeah. Who hasn't gone yet?
Well, I'm here.
Jerry.
My first question is going to be for Bob. What spices did you put into the chicken this time?
So what I did, the last few times I made it, I did ranch. So I had the ranch powder in it.
Yep.
A few cans of cream of chicken, Misdirected Mark, word scramble. Cream of mushroom. This time I left out the ranch. I had garlic parmesan chicken thighs from Wegmans.
Ooh.
So I leaned into the garlic parmesan theory of it. I put in some extra garlic powder, some paprika, salt and pepper, and some extra Parmesan cheese. And cream of chicken soup, cream of celery soup, chicken stock, and as it turned out, I put in some water as well. And as it turned out, I didn't have enough fluid. By the time it got all cooked, it was really like super dense. So, and I had peas set aside to put in afterwards because I didn't want the peas getting all mushy, cooking there for multiple hours. So as I was putting in the peas, I also put in a half a cup of milk and another half a cup of water to thin it out a little bit and make it more creamy rather than just super dense. It was like putting your spoon in a bowl of oatmeal and it stands up.
But they told me that one because that was a common problem I had when I first started doing slow cooker meals. and they told me that what I was creating was called stoop, halfway between stew and soup. It was very, very thick.
Yeah.
So, I've made your recipe twice. I don't, because I don't like mushrooms. I just add an extra can of cream of chicken instead of the cream of mushroom with the cream of celery. But no, I like your idea of the garlic parmesan. Sounds interesting. I want to try that, because that's just good. That's just good home food. So.
Yeah, I mean, normally I don't even care what the flavor is on the breast that I buy from Wegmans. I just buy whatever's available, breasts or thighs, whatever. And I don't care about the flavors. I just put it in. And if the flavors theoretically clash with whatever flavors I'm putting in, I don't even think about it. But this time I'm like, I have garlic parm thighs. I'm just going to lean into the garlic parm part of it. And it taste test when it was done, it's good. Tastes good.
From what I understand from knowing you, Bob, garlic and parm are two things that you lean pretty heavily into anyway. So that's good. And I mean that in a good way.
Yep.
Cool.
I will eat anything with garlic and parm on it.
Yeah. Well, the weather, I'm actually doing pretty good. The weather is getting better, so I was able to actually get a few minor projects done. Just things that when it's cold and clammy outside, I don't want to spend a lot of time outside. And
I'm with you.
So it's getting a little better. This is last year was the year of the great defoliage, where I just basically deliberately killed off 90% of the plants going around my house, all the bushes and all that kind of stuff to get them out. This year we have a late spring, so I'm probably not going to do much more than just kill off a few more things. And I'm going to probably leave the bamboo and the ever-blooming rose and a couple of bushes and green evergreen bushes, and just kill everything off. Anything that I have to trim more than once a season gets killed. If I have to maintain it more than once a season, it's gone. And the person that owned my house before me, 2 years before she was here, she put $20,000 into putting landscaping into the yard. So I've had 3 years of killing stuff.
So no kidding. I did the same thing when I bought my house. When I bought my house, the person who had it before me had this really funky garden thing going in front. It was really not our taste. Mm-hmm. There used to be a mini hedge in front of my front door, and there was all this extra landscaping. There was a tree. There used to be a tree on my front lawn, but the October storm cracked it. And as soon as it cracked, Florence was like, "Oh, the tree must be dead. I guess we'll have to get rid of it."
Yep.
Could that tree have been rehabilitated? Maybe. Did it have a chance? No. But I did the same thing. I basically got rid of all the landscaping in the front yard, and it would be nice. I'm not skilled enough to build the landscaping necessary to put in the front. I think something more modest, smaller would be nice, but. I don't really know. I don't really know how to. I don't know landscaping. I'm sure somebody could come and do it.
Raised beds are really easy. I was lucky enough that, as bad as my ex was, her uncle was a gentleman farmer for a long time. So when he finally retired from that, he gave me a shed full of professional grade. I've got 600 feet of landscaping cloth and that kind of stuff. So
wow.
As both at the house I had before and at this place, I'm just looking at a few things. Now, there are some very nice flowers that grow out front, so I'm kind of staking off where those are, because my goal is by the end of the season, to put down a couple cubic yards of crushed stone out front. I can't put anything down too light, because in my neighborhood, the wind will blow it away.
Yeah. Mulch is just sharing it with your neighbors.
Yeah, I put down 3 bags of mulch the first year I moved in, and 2 weeks later I had none. The wind, my house I'm not near the lake, but my house faces the lake, and I get a lot of wind coming through. And because I'm about 12 blocks from the mall, there's a lot of open space. I had a 20-gallon plastic tote that I used to leave outside my the side of my door, where I would keep a bag of rock salt in there. It was for me to put packages in and things like that. The wind has blown so hard that it blew the entire tote up my driveway, which is 4 car lengths, up to the garage door, with 30 pounds of salt in it.
Yeah.
So,
welcome to wind in Buffalo.
Yep. Oh, I love it. I gotta reinforce my foot. The wind has taken down my flagpole twice. So
it's awesome until you have to fly into it. Which Jerry's house is not far from the airport.
Yeah,
because it's not far from Bob's.
It's only bad to fly into if your pilots are not from the area.
Right.
Same thing I had with Syracuse. If I had pilots that were from Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse, flying back from New York City was easy. If they were from like New York City or any place in the South, it was like, oh my God, I don't know what we're going to do with the
When
wind.
you're coming into the runway sideways.
Yeah. Whereas we had a pilot from Philly one time. We landed in Philadelphia, and there was like 3 inches of water on the runway, and he just said, "We're going to slide a little bit. Everybody, hang on." And he just hit the bam, put us down. Water shot up over the top of the plane when we came down.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's the pilot I want because he knows how to put us down.
Yeah.
I used to fly every week. I used to leave on Monday and come back on Friday every week for 11 months.
Yeah.
So
Remember that.
I got used to the good pilots, the bad pilots, the ones who slap. Anytime you had a pilot that just slapped you down hard on the pavement hard enough that you bounced in your seat, those are the ones I wanted because those are the ones who knew to get your ass on the ground when the wind's bad. Don't touch down and come. Just get your, because once the wheels are down, you're pretty good.
Yeah. It's just some deceleration after that.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's going to be fun. And I haven't flown since September. So
Well, don't get anxious for flights anytime soon.
I'm never anxious for flights anymore. The bloom is on, just like staying in hotels because I used to stay out of town 1 to 3 nights a week every week. The bloom is off the rose for hotels also.
Oh man, those days. I mean, I logged a lot of hotel time for work, for cons. Like right now, I'm just like, I don't think so.
I mean, I don't mind a good hotel. I've learned that like I don't go after the big one. Like of all places, Hilton has a new one called True, TRU.
Yeah.
And they're like somebody made an entire hotel out of a coffee shop.
Yes, it's very hipstery. Like it's got weird furniture and
it's hipstery but good.
Yeah.
It's got like the two that I stay at, they've got little tables with chairs with shelves under them with like coloring books for kids and board games. I was at one that had 3 copies of Settlers of Catan.
There you go.
In the lobby for use in the lobby, and I'm like,
good start.
I don't like Settlers of Catan, but it's a great thing for other people who like that game. It's amazing to have that.
I like Settlers of Catan. Settlers of Catan does not like me.
I'm more of a Ticket to Ride guy. I like Ticket to Ride quite a lot. All right.
Carcassonne.
All right, let's that's an old Misdirected Mark joke. I'm sure a lot of, unless you are a hardcore listener, Carcassonne is a very, very old Misdirected Mark joke.
Hell, I don't even remember that one.
That's Mark's least favorite board game.
Really?
Yeah, Chris used to tease him about it all the time. Anyway, Bob, what about you, man? What's going on?
One thing? We doing the one thing?
One thing, but Jerry did his one thing. That was, he blended it in. You didn't see it, but he segued in very smoothly.
I thought we were on one thing.
We were doing How Are We Doing?
Jerry segued right into
Jerry's
it.
smooth. Jerry's a pro at this podcast.
He's a smooth operator.
Podcast. Okay, so one thing. So, hey, you know how you've always got like old stuff laying around, like comic books and games and cards.
Magic cards.
Like magic cards, for example. Someday that might actually be worth some money. I used to tell myself, none of this shit's worth anything until you get someone to give you hard cash for it. Well, I got someone to give me some hard cash. I got the results back from my miniature market buyback. They accepted everything that I gave them. They downgraded a few things. It went from like $2,380 to 2,040 something.
Yeah, whatever, man. You cleared 2K.
Yeah. And then after they sent me the PayPal payment, PayPal took their cut and it knocked it down to 1980 something. And I'm like, hey, 1983, good year, whatever. I'm like,
wait. What? That's true. Wait, no, you're selling. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
PayPal does take their cut out of that.
Yeah,
that's
PayPal gets the money and they're like, we're giving you a payment from this person. Here's our cut.
Yeah.
Unless you're friends and family, you can send it without them taking a cut, and you get the whole thing.
I have a lot of friends on PayPal.
Yes,
exactly.
So yeah, I made out like a bandit on that deal.
Dude, that is a sweet way to take some old magic and turn it into something cool and new.
I've got some money transfers going now to reroute that money into different directions. and I dropped almost $100 on the Misdirected Mark Teespring store on She's a Super Geek and Jangu Hustle t-shirts and mugs.
Nice.
Because I don't have any of that stuff. So
that's dope.
I was like, all right.
That's cool.
Woo.
Sweet,
So
sweet.
next time I actually get to see Senda in person, I'm going to be representing. So
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Nice.
all right. Well, Phil, what's your one thing since Jerry already scooped us on that? Whole
Yeah.
project?
My one thing this week is we played our 22nd session of Forbidden Lands. And this one was a heavy role play night. We had just finished up a climactic battle in the previous sessions, and this is kind of the prelude to the kickoff of our next campaign arc. And so we just did a lot of RP for the evening, and I actually had a really good RP session with you, Bob. That whole thing with the dwarves coming to visit your keep was a lot of fun. Actually,
Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah, I liked those scenes a lot, and I talked about this on Pandas, so I won't talk about it here. But I got to pay off a very, very old story point in the game, something that had come up very early in the game that has been lingering for almost a year of actual human time, like our time. I got to pay off in a very satisfying way with your character. So that was actually a lot of fun. Plus, I like that now this first arc's done. I was like, you know what? I'm going to invest a little time to get to know these characters more, because we hit the ground running with that game, and we didn't do a lot of we did some character background stuff.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a few points for each character, and really there wasn't a ton of depth. And we added a little bit here and there through play as we went, but we really didn't have a solid handle on really who these people were. So it was nice to dig in a little deeper.
Yeah, now I feel like, well, all right, cool. Now that we're about to head into this next session, like I actually want to now push into the depth of these characters a little more. So it was good. And it was a good evening of role playing, and I mean, I still miss playing face to face, because I know we could cover more material face to face, but we got 2 really good solid hours of role playing in on Zoom, and I think that's nothing to scoff at for an evening. So it was good stuff. Moving over to announcements. I'm just going to wing this because we didn't have any listed, but there was actually a big one that was made earlier today. Gen Con 2020 is canceled.
Yep.
Which I think we all knew needed to happen.
Yeah.
And based on, things that we've come to understand about how conventions work, needed to wait for it to happen. But I'll tell you what I really liked was I saw the tweet go out from Gen Con about it, right? They posted a link to their webpage with the article. And there were 300 and something comments. And I was like, oh boy, I don't know why I'm doing this. But I decided, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to scroll the comments. I'll scroll through the comments and see what people had to say. And I did not read every comment. So I cannot say this with certain, I cannot say this with absolute, with any kind of absolute, right? But I skimmed a good third to a half of those comments. And all of them were extremely positive. People were like, this is I'm very sad that there's not going to be a Gen Con, but I totally understand why. And I'm looking forward to it in 2021. It was all very positive. These were I was girding my loins for the, I can't believe you gave in to, whatever, that kind of thing. It was absolutely not the case. The people who tweeted were very understanding, understood why it wasn't safe to have Gen Con. I think we all knew it wasn't going to be safe to have 60,000 plus people in confined space for 4 days. And, I don't think anyone doubted Gen Con was going to cancel. It just kind of needed to run its course, right? And so Essen, the board game convention, also canceled as well. So...
that's the spiel.
Yeah.
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 So... the thing is, it sucks. But honestly, it's the right thing to do for the hobby.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can't be having a con where, I mean, look, in fact, I have an article coming out Friday talking about how my gaming has changed during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And part of it was talking about post-con or post-pandemic, gaming and, the future of conventions. And look, we know we can't keep each other from getting sick at cons. We have a joke about it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we call it con crud for a reason.
Yep.
Except that going forward in the future, right, con crud may or may not kill you.
Yeah.
So yes. I don't think anyone, like, before, if you got con crud, it was like a badge of honor, right? Like, and to be honest, sometimes, because I have gotten con crud after some of the big conventions, it is a nice way to pull a few sick days and rest after the con instead of having to go back to work, right? Just like, I've got a head cold, don't want to go into work with it, right? And you just take a few sick days and then eventually come back to work. It's kind of a nice transition way to come back. But I think we all know it's just, it's not prudent. It's not good right now. Like, it's just
the only negative things I've seen is I belong to a couple of Facebook groups that deal with vendors, and some of the vendors are a little ticked about it. And I'm like, I didn't say anything, but it's like, what are you going to do? If this was your big money making thing for the year, but you're not, people shouldn't be coming. And my other thing is, I'm glad to see they canceled it. I think con crud is still a thing. I think, and as much as I love our gaming community, there is a small portion of it that still haven't gotten hygiene and showering down to an art form yet, and that's just going to exacerbate the problem when it comes to something like this. So I'm glad to see.
Well, and I think, even if you table hygiene and that, there are a lot of people who in the past would have taken yes, I have the sniffles, but it's Gen Con, buck up, camper, right? And like, and get going. And, I'm going to game through this head cold kind of thing. Yep. Because it's Gen Con, right? Like, I mean, it's one time of the year, whatever. And that's just, that's not an attitude we can all live with right now.
No.
Right?
No.
I mean, the same thing's true at my office. I mean, forget Gen Con for a second. Like, there used to be at my old office, not my current one, my old office had a very bad culture of coming in sick and working. Like, people would just be like, it's just a minor fever and just keep working. And one time in my office, there was an outbreak of the flu that took out 75% of the office, right? 75 out of 100 people were out sick.
Yep.
Because people couldn't stay home. And so that Puritan work ethic and that, suck it up, man up kind of mentality.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Like, look, it works with head colds. It doesn't work with a fatal disease.
No. And I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see they're moving on from it.
It's a game changer, right? It's and I feel bad for the vendors, right? Because vendors who, fiscal.
I'm not saying I don't feel bad for them. I'm saying it's something you gotta deal with it.
I mean, listen, you don't want to go to that con, make your big bucks, and then die.
I mean, my business, my real business took a hit this year too because of the virus. I mean, a bunch of our customers that we deal with just don't want us coming in, and a lot of them were closed because even though we're an essential business, they're not, so they're just shut down.
Yeah, that also makes sense, right?
And so, and we just understood that we were just going to deal with that. You say, okay, it has to be done, and we're going to discuss it for a few minutes, and then we're done. And I'm like, I don't want to keep hearing over and over again, well, these are closed. Just go on with your day. Don't dwell on that part of it.
Yeah.
So to close this out, I'm going to just say the following, right?
Yeah.
So you should support the publishers that you like.
Yes.
Because they're not going to be selling books at Gen Con, so you can always buy direct. And I'm going to say this because I saw it online, and I thought this was a really good point. Mm-hmm. If you're a WotC, if you're Pathfinder, whatever, you're going to be okay, right? You sell enough in volume, you'll be fine. And if you're an Encoded Designs, we're so small that we just ride on our PDF sales, right? And we're okay.
Yeah.
But it's the mid-tier publishers.
Yep.
Okay? It's your Evil Hat. It's your Magpie. It is Free League, Modifius, like those middle guys, right? Like, make sure, shower love to whoever you like in terms of publishing. But if you got a favorite mid-tier publisher, sometime in the next couple months, throw them some love and make some direct sales. Go right to their website. Don't go to Amazon. Go right to their website. It's the highest margin cut they get. If you buy a book right from Evil Hat, that makes them the most money in their pocket. So shower them some love. I mentioned a whole bunch. Let me mention one more. Third Eye Games, right? Love Aloy and the gang. Show them some love as well, right? Aloy works his ass off every Gen Con. So not going to Gen Con.
And I'm sure most of those companies, they count on a certain amount of sales from cons.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
And without those sales, don't put it off. Like, okay, well, I would have bought if I had been at the con, then buy it from their website.
Absolutely. At the very least, go to IPR.
Yeah.
Right?
When I still worked for Dark City Games, our first Gen Con is what really put us on the map. Being able to sell that. I mean, we sold out of all the books we brought with us the first couple of days. The publisher had to show up later on in the week with more books for us. And that was what really kind of pushed us, into the limelight for a little while. It's a good thing. I'm just glad to see that the conventions are all taking the time, because I was a little worried that Gen Con still might try to do it. It's a Midwest convention, and the atmosphere in different states is different, and that's good and bad. But I wasn't sure they were going to necessarily cancel themselves.
I'll say this.
What I was afraid of was Gen Con trying to go and having a bunch of people from my area going to Gen Con and coming back infected again.
I think the thing to remember is that Gen Con LLC is a Seattle company, I believe, right? And Washington State's been a very responsible.
That's good too.
Has been very responsible through all this. So anyway, give your publishers love. We're going to say this in many more episodes, but give publishers love, that will help. Like I said, it's those middle tier publishers are going to be the ones that are going to take the biggest hit this con season. Not that you shouldn't buy any encoded stuff, but I'll be honest, like, we're going to be okay.
Like, if you want to show us some love, show us some love. But we're not going to suffer from lack of a con.
No.
Yeah. We'll be fine.
My other announcement is going to be just to remember that the FM Gamers is still doing their 31 days of creative writing prompts on Twitter. Mm-hmm. So go on over to FMG Casters and tell us about your favorite games. We have a different question every day to prompt you to give us some information, talk about it.
Cool.
Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, sweet.
All right.
Awesome. On to the Salon. Let's do a little...
Salon.
There we go. Quick little Super Friends thing there. All right.
Cool. All right, so the Salon, once again, we're taking it easy, right, in the face of being locked down now for our 10th week, to give ourselves a little self-love. We're relaxing our normally heavier scripted kind of show and doing a little more of a gaming show that's a little bit more slice of life, right? Like what's going in our lives, and then how does that relate to gaming? Because
a bit more
again,
slice
you're
of life.
Here. What's that?
A bit more slice of life.
A bit more slice of life. Listen, you're here for the gaming advice and discussion, so we're not going to deprive you of that. Yes. But rather than going in the heavily scripted route, we're just going to talk about the stuff that we're playing and kind of the topics that spring naturally from that. If you are a new listener to this show, if somehow you have stumbled on this show and you're like, hey, this Misdirected Mark thing sounds interesting, I wonder what they sound like normally, go to any show in our catalog that has a number, right? Not these Salon episodes. These Salon episodes are a little different. Go to any show in our catalog that has a number. Bob, from what number forward? What's a good number?
I mean, 167 is a real good place to jump
167 forward would be perfectly fine. Go to one of those. That's what we normally sound like and what we will sound like again as we kind of move, through lockdown and kind of like the world starts to level out to whatever the new world, is going to be. But in the meantime, we are gathered about in the Salon. It is the room in the house Misdirected where we talk about things that we're playing, media that we're consuming, and other things going on in our lives, and relate them to interesting gaming topics that we can chat about. And so first, we shall review and just kind of talk about what things we've been playing this week. Last week, we kind of talked about what we're playing in total, but this week, what did you play? And then from that, we'll pick a game out of one of those and a topic of discussion from that. So I guess I'll kick it off really quick. Role-playing wise, I talked about having played Forbidden Lands. That was Sunday. But before that, on Thursday, I ran Dungeon Crawl Classics for you guys and others. And we are so close to the end of our level 1 adventure, the one who watches from below. We literally have the set piece encounter is the last piece. And so we'll be doing that. Survivors will be leveling up. And then we'll be starting our level 2 adventure after that. Very excited about. Video game wise, I've been playing Minecraft and primarily our shared instance. I kind of stopped playing FTB Academy for a little while. One, because I kind of missed hanging out with you guys and playing in the shared world. Two, I got my ass handed to me by the Wither in FTB Academy, and I'm not 100% sure what to do about that yet. I seriously got my ass kicked by the Wither, where I beat it pretty handily in our game. So I was like, I'm going to come back and play our game for a little while. So anyway, I've been doing some building and stuff on my Astrial Sorcery Temple and Laboratory. Thanks a little help from Jerry retrieving for me a whole temple that I stuck in the sky and then started building off of that. And then app-wise, I'm still playing the hell out of Mario Kart Tour. I friended up with Schmitty and a few other people on Twitter and my kids, and so I've been playing a bunch. I still really like that game. It is very much an app game, but it is still very much Mario Kart, and I love me some Mario Kart, so I'm enjoying that as well. Bob, what about you? What are you playing? What did you play this week?
So I, of course, played in your DCC and Forbidden Lands games. And we also had our Wednesday night Scum and Villainy game with Chris. Mm-hmm. We did not have our Friday night Eberron game. That one had to get pushed off. But we did get in the Wednesday Scum and Villainy. I've been playing, of course, Minecraft on our shared server. And I've been in heavy remodeling, terraforming, and what's the phrase I want to look for? Like taking stuff that I thought looked okay to begin with, and kind of jazzing it up, making it look even better. So some modifications, did some changes to my house and my island and different stuff like that. And then, of course, still playing the Mahjong app from Minecraft because it's amusing to me.
The Mahjong app from Minecraft?
Yeah, not Minecraft. Microsoft. It's an M word. Oh, definitely an M word.
I was like, wow, there's a Mahjong game from Minecraft?
I wouldn't put it past them.
They got the new dungeon game coming out. Where it's like an actual adventure game.
Yeah. I'll try it.
Cool.
Jerry, what about you?
Pretty much the only games that I played last week were Dungeon Crawl Classics and Scum and Villainy, where I'm actually playing our backup character. I kind of like the fact that in Scum and Villainy, you play the entire crew, so you each create a main character, and then anybody else on the ship, any other character classes that the players don't start out with, you create as a group, and whenever somebody can't make it or their character's out of it, you play the other characters.
Yeah, we're going to actually go into that in depth later when we get to my thing.
Then we'll go to that. But I've just been playing one of the backups we created and having a good time as a very alternate type of character. The other thing is that we finished our game for the FM gamers. We finished our game of Monster of the Week last week when we saved the Five Corners Mall. And so Lana is going to start running a one-shot of Uncharted Worlds, which I've never played. It's another PBTA game, science fiction. But her version of it, the entire group is a racing team. We're basically in a Voltron-style mech with 3 different forms for air, water, and earth. And on top of that, it's basically Fast and the Furious. Matter of fact, the organizer is apparently a mashup of Vin Diesel and Legolas. So expect the typical kind of zaniness that you've gotten from the last couple FM Gamers adventures, but this time we're in space, and we're a mafia-backed racing team that has a Voltron. So that's what we're looking forward to. So, and then, like I said, more Minecraft, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. And I've been playing Marvel Strike Force. I'm actually part of the Knights of the Night group on Minecraft, or on Strike Force. And we've got some new players that just came in. A lot of them got booted out of other more competitive teams because they were newer and they didn't bring a lot of points with them. And so they got booted out, and because Tom and his family are very accepting people, we just brought them in, and whatever you bring, and we're going to have fun together. So it just gave me a lot of spoons to see new people come in the way I did when I came in, and have this whole group just like, yeah, come on in. I only have 6 characters. Doesn't matter. We'll put you wherever you want to play. So that was nice.
That's nice.
That was my thing. Yeah.
It's all about having fun, right? I mean,
that's the whole point.
That's the way it should be.
I'll talk later about my theories about why that works with this, but we'll talk about that. So, all right. So that's it for my what are we playing this week? So
awesome. So now what we're going to do is talk about. Well, Jerry, I'm going to let you segue. Actually, you know what? I'll kick it to Bob. I'll kick it to Bob just so that it's different voices. Yeah. Bob, pick one of the games you're playing, anyone you like, and talk about, and tell me some gaming stuff about it.
Yeah. So I have been, as I said, playing Mahjong, and it's from the Microsoft gaming collection, and obviously it's an app that you can download on your phone, or you can have the Windows app that you download. And I picked it up for my mom because my mom plays Mahjong all the time. And I used to stand and watch, like I would come over to their house and to visit on Saturday mornings to have breakfast and whatnot. And sometimes she'd be in the computer room and she'd just be sitting there playing Mahjong, waiting for me to show up. And I would go and I would say hi and then stand there behind her and watch her as she's clicking on tiles and doing her thing. And then one day I was sitting playing solitaire, and I'm like, I need to change it up from playing these same 5 games of solitaire over and over again. And now what the hell? Let me grab Mahjong. And it stuck out to me, like, oh, like I picked this up for my mom. Like I got this game, I got into this game because of family, right? And so when you think about it, you should share your gaming tastes with your family members, especially role playing. Yeah. If you can get your family members to role play. If you can get your family members to do it, I mean, obviously don't push anything on them because you want people to want to play things and want to enjoy things, but you never know what is going to stick in someone else's mind when you introduce them to it. So it's like, hey, show your kids, hey, we're going to play this game if you want to, where, you pretend to be another character, another person, and you go out and you do stuff. And, you might strike a chord and suddenly that becomes a passion of theirs and away you go. And it just, like, the light bulb went on over my head the other day, and I was like, wow, yeah, like, if my mom had not, been playing so much Mahjong in my presence, I wouldn't have ever picked it up. It never would have occurred to me to pick that game up. And now I enjoy playing it. And one of the main reasons I enjoy playing it is because it's helping keep my brain sharp. All right. The older you get, the more your brain needs to be exercised, just like muscles. Right. And keeping my brain sharp with my Mahjong and other things, it helps a lot when you're playing a role-playing game, for example, thinking quickly on your feet. You've got to react to something that happens in the moment, and you got to come up with a plan, right? Quick thinking, pattern recognition. I've got to look on the screen, and I've got to find the stuff that matches. All of those things can play into a lot of different gaming. And so... and that was why I wanted to highlight Mahjong, because those are the kind of things that it's doing for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. I took a very light hand with my kids about gaming. Right, I didn't want to I didn't want to force them to play games because I wanted them to go their own path for whatever it is they were going to be into. And I played a little, like I played a little bit of Savage Worlds with Dante when he was younger. We played a little bit. I think you were there. We played a little bit of D&D with him one time.
Yep.
Role playing's never been his thing, but board games are. Mm-hmm. So that's a thing that I share with him more than role playing. Is he likes board games. So we have slightly different tastes in board games. He is hyper competitive, where I am hyper cooperative. So our happy medium for that in my family, with my parents and everyone else, the happy medium is Ticket to Ride. Yeah. Ticket to Ride is a game that everybody enjoys. It is just competitive enough for me that I enjoy it without being uncomfortable about it. Right? It's not cutthroat. It's not player elimination or anything like that. It's a really nice sweet spot, and so we play that a lot. I really enjoyed Ilmat. That was fantastic. We played that a couple times early on during the lockdown. I actually just want to bring it out and play it again. That was a terribly fun. That's a terribly fun game, competitive and yet not the queasy kind of cutthroat that I don't like. And then Dante's been a good sport. He plays some co-ops with me too. I'm a huge Pandemic fan. Yep. And a couple of other different co-ops that I have up on my shelf that I really enjoy. So that's a thing that would I like if my kids were like deep into role playing? I totally would love that, right? Yeah. I would totally. But my kids are like super sporty, and I am the 80s definition of not sporty, right?
But at least there's a gaming element that you guys can share together.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's common ground on that. And so like holidays and things like that, or get-togethers, like where, we'll bring out Ticket to Ride and like some of the 1910 expansion and play that, because that's it gets good grumbles at the table. Like, you took Chicago, shaking your fist at somebody or whatever.
My family does the same thing on holidays. We'll sit around the table and we'll play like Zombie Dice or Farkle.
Farkle is not a game that I've ever
Farkle is amusing. Farkle is a game that Tony would hate to play because Tony can't not push his luck.
Right. Exactly.
Tony's like, I'm rolling again. No, Tony, stop. Bank the points.
Just can't.
When it comes to co-ops, when we get to go face to face again, we need to sit down at the table with Forbidden Sky, which is sitting right next to me.
Yes. I mean, that's of the other. I mean, I love all Matt Leacock games to begin with, right? So I have Forbidden Island, I have Forbidden Desert. I would love to play. Forbidden Sky.
As I've said in the post here, I think you guys are really one of my gaming families. I mean, Lily and her sister and I will play board games at holiday parties and that sort of thing. But I really get my family style gaming from gaming with you guys. When things clear up here, Chris's partner Jen and her sister do a monthly dinner and game night. That is often just a lot of fun, and that's how I get a lot of the family style board games in, and I really like that. I love that kind of thing. So
I remember when my son was younger. One Christmas, he's like, "I want to play Monopoly," and I was like,
"No, you don't."
I'm like, you know what? I'm like, let's play. Like, let's play.
Yeah.
And he bankrupted my mother. Was very thrilled. I went out second, and then Florence's mom just crushed him with a hotel, like I think it was like on Marvin Gardens or something, and he got this look in his eye, and I was like, oh, he's gonna table flip this thing, right? Like, he's so mad.
On the inside, he table flipped.
Right. And I was like, buddy, this is why we play Ticket to Ride.
Yep.
Right. Like, I hate player elimination games, right? I can't stand King of Tokyo, I think is my one one exception to that. King of Tokyo is a game light enough that player elimination does not upset me.
I need to play King of Tokyo with a different group. So I've played King of Tokyo a bunch of times. It's a lot of fun to play, but we always seem it's like 5 minutes into it, you're down to 2 players who just fight each other for the next 15 minutes.
I mean, you gotta. I don't know. There's a balancing act to who you attack and who you don't, and I mean, a couple good rolls you can really devastate someone, but.
Yeah.
I usually don't get those good. Rolls, or I also don't get like one of the really cool cards. Like some of those cards can really.
Oh yeah.
Can turn the game.
King of Tokyo is still a great game, but I've noticed that we have a time limit on it. That if the game goes more than 15 minutes, it's time to move on to another game because you're just gonna sit there for a while.
Oh, and somebody just mentioned. You guys all mentioned it in the chat room with Schmitty. Is Sorrow?
Oh, that's a great game.
Oh, Sorrow's beautiful. I love it. Plus, if you, by the way, if you have iOS, you can just get Sorrow on your iPad, or it might be also on Android. It's a blast to play on iOS as well.
Okay,
right,
so we're gonna do one each, and then
I think we'll do one each and then we'll hit the break.
Yeah.
Jer, you want to do yours?
I think for gaming, I'm going to talk about Minecraft. We've had 2 weeks of very interesting cooperative building. Bob and I ended up building our villages close enough together that now it's one great big village. We each started with about 6 to 8 buildings, and between us, we now have our compound takes up, I believe, an area 3 chunks by 4 chunks.
Oh no, that thing's now a sprawl.
Yeah, and I believe we're now at something like 130 or 150 buildings, well over 200 villagers, and Bob showed me how to create capsules and how to center them properly. And so, a long time back, when I first started exploring this season, I stumbled upon this really weird temple that had 2 giant like cat god things that were like 110 feet tall, and we stole the entire thing and put it in the marina between, or the area between my harbor and his harbor. Since then, we've also stolen a couple of temples, the top off of an Aztec pyramid, a couple of castles. We have cleared off several other islands, and yesterday we decided that because we're only 150 blocks away from the spawn point, that we would just build a safe path between the edge of my end of the town to this to spawn. Which my original plan was just go through, make a 3-block wide road, clear the trees around it, put up a wall, and then drop a golem in the middle of it to keep it safe. And Bob came with the idea that, hey, he's got these blueprint bridges that he can make, that you lay them down and they just clear everything where they're going to be. You put them down and everything that was under them is gone. So that worked well for the first piece that was 3 by 75. We misjudged the second length, and it turned out that it was not actually 150 squares away. It was 132 squares away, and we destroyed part of the spawn point, smashed right into it, which was a mad dash to repair the spawn point and also keep all the wizards from escaping, because I'm not the only one who repositions people in the game. So
yes,
but that all worked out. We did a lot of messing around. We also stole an entire slime island and put that on the ground, and that's we figured out that when you put a slime island touching any other soft earth, it starts to turn that soft earth into slime as well, which means we almost unleashed a plague of slime onto the village. If we'd left it there and left the game, we would have come back to find our entire town infected. So it was just a lot of fun. It was just a lot of working together. We've moved entire pirate ships. We've built neighborhoods, and a lot of things where one of us will build something and then somebody else comes by and tidies it up or makes. Bob has a much better aesthetic for symmetry than I do. And so I'll
Jesse,
put
much
something.
better. Yeah, yes. I think it's some sort of obsession.
A little bit of OCD.
Yes.
Well, it works well because I'll put something down and Bob's like, I got an idea, and he'll come over, just move a couple of blocks around, and all of a sudden it looks so much better and so much coherent. So it's been a cooperative thing, and then, like I said, getting villagers for Phil, and Phil sharing resources with me, and Andy came over and we discussed a couple of things. So it's the Minecraft server is still a lot of fun, and it's live action cooperative Lego building, really. But
Yeah.
so that's been my thing. Is it's just been I don't have a lot of heavy challenges in mine. I'm not building super complicated contraptions or such. I'm just trying to build a big town and populate it full of people and then keep them safe. And that's still giving me spoons.
So I think I'm going to dovetail your thing in with mine, because I'm going to talk about Minecraft as well, and then I'm going to pull a gaming topic out of it that I think is related to everything you just said as well, if that's okay.
Yep.
So I've also been playing Minecraft, and especially I've been playing on a shared server lately. I was bouncing around for a while through a few different mod packs, kind of looking for something that I would enjoy, and it's been kind of my theme all lockdown long that, like, if something isn't giving me joy, I just move on. Like right now, my current mental health is no struggle. Right. So if a thing looks like it's going to be struggle, work, or not, stressful, then I don't need to do that. I can just go find something else to do. Right. I'll just go pick up something else and I'll watch it, play it, read it, whatever. So I was bouncing around through a whole bunch of different Minecraft things. Couldn't really figure out for a little while, like what was going to make me happy. So I started working on this Astral Temple thing because, one, I do like exploring mod packs that I haven't done before, but I stumbled on the thing that I really like. And I learned this a little bit from Factorio, and then I learned it a little bit more this past week, is that the thing that I really get enjoyment out of is actually building structures. I like making processes, and I like automating things that normally in Minecraft are kind of a pain in the ass. Like I like automating farming, and I like, I like how some of the mods will let you circumvent resource issues, by building processes and spending energy to solve those problems. So I like all those things.
Hoppers.
What's that?
Hoppers.
Yeah. I mean, just all sorts of like automated mining and whatever. So I like those things. But what I really enjoyed the most in the last week was I started building the Astral Sorcery Laboratory, which you got to build that thing up high anyway, right? The game's like, you got to get it up high above like block 120, right? It's got to be way up in the sky. But since we have flight, I was like, I'm just going to build a whole sprawling complex in the sky, right? And then I got kind of into the aesthetic for it, because like I could have just put anything up there and like started working. But I was like, no, I want like slate for it. So like then I spent 2 days roaming around underground looking for slate, finally got the slate and kind of picked out what the aesthetic was going to look like. And then you came over and dropped off a whole underground temple that you had scooped up for me with a capsule. And I like incorporated all that stuff.
You did some amazing stuff with that temple. I love your carved marble.
Well, and so this gets to the point, right? This gets to the thing that I like is like, I like doing those things, right? So I like building things, and I like taking things that exist and kind of and like converting them to a purpose, right? So like I love building in, like I will never build on an open field. I will always build like into the side of a hill or a cave or something, and then like over time I just kind of incorporate the parts of the cave as my base or whatever. Okay, so the point of all this is, because this is not a Minecraft podcast, this is a gaming podcast, an RPG podcast. Yes. The thing about this is, it is important to understand, especially when a game is broad in what you can do, right? Minecraft is very broad in what you can do. In fact, it has no end game. Even if you go and fight the final creature in the game, it just dumps you back into the game, right? Like there's nothing like that. You need to understand what you are getting out of the game, and then making sure that the game is providing that for you, right? So I'm going to talk about Minecraft in a second, but then I'm going to switch to role-playing games. So for me in Minecraft, and this is the difference between me playing Minecraft and me playing Factorio, was I like the automation part of Factorio, but I can't build a house in Factorio. You just build like these sprawling complexes of belts and machinery, which is cool as hell, but it's not the same as building a house or a castle or converting an underground cavern complex into a livable and functional, usable space. So it's important when you are, and now I'm going to flip it back to RPGs. When you're playing an RPG, it's important to understand what is it I want from this game, right? What is the part of the game that's going to bring me pleasure? And then making sure that as a group that's going to get delivered in the game, because that's part of the session zero. That's part of what a GM works on, integrating everybody's desires, including their own, into the game, so that the game is delivering something enjoyable for everyone, right? And I think that when we talk about, role-playing games, like I see Senda's name popping up in the chat room, like, Senda loves disastrous, dramatic relationships. Preferably some sort of triangle relationship that's doomed, on some end. And it's important to know that you like that, so that when you're getting into a game with people, you can make sure that your pieces are getting represented. And sometimes I think we forget to do that. Like, we see a game and we're like, oh, I want to play this game, or I want to play with these people. Or we always play on Sunday nights, we're just playing a new game, and really learn, for a moment, a little introspection. What is it I need? What is it I need? What feeds me in this game? And then how do I tell people this is what I need?
Well, as I put in the chat room, you guys did a whole episode about that a while back, episode 209, Layers of Gaming. And that was something that I keep telling my players over and over again, that it's really important to understand that and let the GM know. What is it you're trying to get out of this game? Because not everybody comes to every role-playing game with the same. I've had this with groups I've dealt with, where I've got one or two that are really there to, I hate to use the term min-max, but to really tweak out their character to the best mechanical advantage they can in the game. And that's fine. So I think it's good to have at least one of those in every game that involves some sort of combat, because you sometimes need them to deal with stuff. And I have some players who are just there to chill with their friends, and some that are there they've got this really weird, quirky character that they want to mine the hell out of that drama. And as long as you know what those are and everybody's into it, it's a lot of fun. I think that's the same. Real quick, I play a lot of Fallout 4. One of the reasons I have not played Fallout Appalachia, whatever it's called, is because you can't build towns in that. And my favorite part of Fallout 4 was not the main plot, which I still haven't finished on my second time through. It's building towns and saving people and making them happy and keeping them safe. And, which is
no surprise if you see your Lego table.
So, yes, or my Minecraft village.
Wow, I mean, they're all just extensions, right? Like,
yes, they are.
So
I know that though.
Yeah, and I think it's worth. It's definitely worth a session zero question for a GM to ask in a group, like, what do you want out of this game? But I also think it's important for players to just think to themselves, like, when a new game comes up, even if it's a game you're excited about, like, I'm not saying like do this when you're not too excited about a game to make sure that you are excited. Even when you're excited about a game, like, role-playing games are vast. Even the most narrowed ones still have a lot of range about where a game can go. But being mindful about what it is you like in a game. You like teamwork. You like organizing things. You want to be a leader. You don't want to be the leader. Whatever. Those things are like really important to bring to the game, because like you said, if everybody brings the thing they like and as a group works together to get them all in the game, it's a win for everybody.
Yep.
Everybody gets to enjoy the game.
I think it's also important to go back to that once in a while. I was recently in a game where we added a bunch of new players, which is excellent, and the new players have added a lot to the game. I actually enjoy it. I actually enjoy playing with the new players. They're adding a lot of role-playing hooks, but because we suddenly had a bunch of new players, the scope and genre of the game changed drastically.
Mm-hmm.
And so the character I had no longer had any of the opportunities they had earlier on. And so I found myself almost checking out of the game for a while because I'm sitting here watching my friends play, and it's a lot of fun, but my character no longer had any of the hooks that started the game. And so knowing what I was there for when I was playing the game and seeing that change meant that I had to reevaluate what it was I wanted out of the game. And luckily we were at the end of a story arc, so I didn't bother making any drastic changes. Otherwise I would have retired the character and brought somebody else in.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to find that thing that you like.
Yeah, if you're not getting fed by a game, like you need to, like, right, a couple things can happen, right? We can change games. You can change characters. You could just not play. I always opt for, I really like, I want everybody to be playing.
Right.
But, if needed, like if somebody needs to step out of a game, like when I ran Blades in the Dark, Chris did not have a good time playing it. Right. And eventually stepped out of the game, and the game went on, and we had a really good time playing it. But it was definitely not the game for Chris, because Chris does not like playing games where you are not heroic. And our Blades characters were not heroic.
They were not heroic people.
They were at best questionable, and probably worse than that. And why, when Scum and Villainy came out, I was like, oh, well, this will be a much better fit for Chris.
Yeah.
Like that is that's a much closer placement for his happiness. So yeah, I think it sounds simple, right? It sounds simple to simply be like, hey, what are you into for this game? But I think the harder part is, and this is the challenge I would put on everybody who's playing in role-playing games, is figure out how to articulate the things you want in more abstract terms. Like, it's one thing to, like, listen, if all you ever play is one game and you know the reason you like playing is because you like to be the wizard, that's cool. But it might be, if you're abstracting it, what you like about the wizard is you like the person who bends the rules of the world to do cool things. And in different games, that may be different things, right? So in Scum and Villainy, you might be a person who uses what's the name? The way, right? The Force. Thinly veiled Force, right?
Yes.
You know, but it's important to know those things. Like, you know, there's always that thing that makes fun of, like, well, this guy always wants to play a ninja, right? But there's a reason that guy really enjoys playing the ninja. Like, they want to be stealthy, or they don't like direct confrontation, right? Like, they want to help, but they don't like direct confrontation. But knowing those things, there's always a way in a game to find whatever that is.
Yeah.
But being able to ask for it is really key.
Yeah. And
just being able to know it about you is you know, also important.
Yeah.
Cool. That's my kind of gaming topic, because that's what I saw with
gaming
you
stuff.
And yeah. I'm sorry. I'll do this real quick and then we can wrap up and take a break. But that's what I saw with you and Jerry over the last couple of weeks, is like, you found a thing you guys are both into. Like, Bob has always been and I can, and it'll come off as a pun, but Bob is always in Minecraft a builder. Yeah. You are not, you like tech, but tech is there enough to solve the building things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a means to an end. It's like, oh, I need these things and I need the tech to get them. Once I've got them, Like I don't work on intricate streams of processing so that when I get ore, I just throw it in a box and everything happens.
Right.
Like I'll do some of the manual work.
Right. And Schmitty's an engineer. Schmitty is so much an engineer that Schmitty likes the storage system that's actually more complex than refined storage because refined storage is actually too easy.
Yep.
Like AE2 is actually a much harder mod for storage, but Schmitty prefers playing that one over refined storage because refined storage is basically AE2 but easy.
Yeah.
You might want to explain what AE means.
Advanced Energistics 2 is the name of the mod, but it's basically digitized storage for Minecraft. Anyway, but everybody gets a thing out of it, and it's kind of why our mod packs are really hodgepodgey, right? Because Rich loves magic. Schmitty wants very techie stuff. I'm somewhere on the techie end. But I also like to just try to find and do cool things, right? Like, so I kind of burn through mod packs because I want to just like try the mod pack out.
Yeah.
But I forgot. And that's what I came back to was I forgot that what I really like is building stuff.
Yep.
And once I found that again, I was like, oh man, I'm back. Like I'm back. Yeah. I'm just going to build shit now.
That's what you got to do.
Coolness. Good. All right, let's take us to break. And in order to get to break, Bob, please tell us about another show on the Misdirected Mark Network.
Bonus Experience is our show for tonight. Ray and Monica are two old friends exploring gameplay and design through the lens of diversity, while also sharing some of the dumbest humor gaming has to offer. I mean, if that isn't a tagline, that's glorious.
Yes.
Give them a listen.
Yep.
All right, cool. What's going on in the chat room?
Yeah, so like you said, I like to build the house, whereas Schmitty's philosophy is the house is only there to hold the tech.
Yes.
So it can be a hole in the wall, it can be a simple box, whatever.
See, so that's the weird place where I fall between you guys because I need my place to hold my tech, but I want it to hold my tech in a really cool way.
Yeah. Yeah. And whereas I just tend to fit things in wherever they fit, and then I build around them.
Yeah.
Well, then you could be Tony, who's like, I don't even need a house to fit my tech. This thing just sprawls all over the ground.
Tony is frightening. It looks like, I don't know. You go to his base, and it's just like all of this stuff is just. Blah.
You're afraid to touch anything.
Yeah, you're like, I don't even know what half of this stuff does. Wait a minute, that's not even Minecraft. How did he do that?
Yeah.
That is very much. Tony is our mad scientist.
Yes,
but it's still fun. It is in a way a role playing game though for everybody.
Oh yeah,
we've all got our little things. I think back to, so the first time that we fought that I fought the End Dragon with you guys, where you guys made sure I had a flight ring and told me just stay the hell out of the way, and I got to come in and watch and fly. But then the second time we went, I knew what I was doing, and we had two more new players who'd never done it. And so now my job was to be kind of on Overwatch. The first time that we went to the end, was it the end or the nether for the first time? Somebody was looking for something. I was just tagging along, kind of just looking around to see what was going on. The second time we went, one player had never been there before, but needed a resource. And so 5 of us went literally as Overwatch. We hung in the air, and all we did was killed anything that got within like a 20-block radius, except for the pigmen. So that this person could just wander around and have a good time. And there are role-playing games like that, where the healer is going to go do something. The druid has to go look for something in the woods, and they're not a combat druid. So the fighter and the ranger go along and just murder anything that gets close to them so the druid can do their thing.
It's almost like that's why you build a party of complementary people.
Exactly. Even my character in Minecraft is only slightly less clumsy than I am in real life. The number of times, they gave me a flight ring the first time just because they were sick of coming to find my body over and over again. So literally.
Jerry had a few moments where he would end up dead thousands of clicks away.
I believe the first server that I was on, which I think was your guys' season 2, I believe I died something like 14 times before they brought me my ring. I had an entire chest full of death certificates. So
It's true.
But anyway, it's a way that we are taking our role playing game theories into that sort of thing, and that's kind of what I was talking about with Strike Force. Was that playing Strike Force, the Marvel game, which is basically just it's one of these. You pick your team, you fight the bad guys. There are some cooperative things where you're all fighting different teams, but you're trying to move towards a goal. There are some where you're trying to take on as many teams at once in a small time. And so there are some very competitive alliances out there. And our alliance, we have 5 or 6 people that are really top heavy, with groups that are, 400,000 points and so on per team. And we have some new players that came in that all of their characters combined are worth like 35,000 points. They're not even close to the same level. And they got kicked out of a couple other groups because they didn't bring stuff in and they weren't leveling up fast enough. And you can play the game without being competitive at all. You can just be part of an alliance and do nothing. And the game is designed so that if you participate at all, even if you lose everything, you still get some rewards if your team does well. There's a lot of things in this game that you get rewards based on how well you do. You get rewards based on how well you do in your team. So there's that competitive nature. And you also get rewards based on how well your team does. So if you participate at all, you'll do well. And so somebody made a comment about that, gee, you guys are a lot more understanding. And I thought about it, I'm like, that's because like half of this alliance are the Knights of the Knights guys and their friends who are all role players. And good role-playing groups, and I'll go on record as this, good role-playing groups support each other.
Yeah.
You can be a competitive role player and say that if you're the exception, I'm sorry. I feel good role-playing groups support each other. Somebody comes in that wants to do something, you still look to them and say, how can I help you do that?
Yeah.
And that's what happened here was these people came in like, I only have 5 or 6. That's great. Here, you know what? We're going to do this mission, and I'm going to fight this bad guy group until there's only one left, and then I'll let myself die so you can come in and fight them and win and get some Benny points and that kind of thing. That's a role-playing thing. The fighter sets somebody up so the wizard can finally do that cool spell he never gets off kind of thing. Yeah. So, I don't know. It's using role-playing culture in a competitive game environment that I think makes a tighter team and makes better friends.
I like that idea.
Anyway,
that's good.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. What else we got going on in this chat room?
So, Evil John wants to find a better way to ask, what do you want? Because everyone usually says a mix or a balance, and they're all lying. They are.
So I think a good way to do that is if you're talking about a game. So let's say we're going to play Star Trek, right? Because I'm going to play Star Trek at some point, right? So let's say we're playing Star Trek, and I want to know what you want out of the game. Now I'm going to take advantage that you've actually that the people are playing. I'm going to assume that the people are playing have seen some Star Trek before, right? Like this would be different if people haven't, but but I think I can extend this to people who haven't. So what I would do is I'd be like, all right, cool. So tell me so the question I would ask is, rather than say, what do you want to get out of the game? Tell me about your favorite episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Right? Tell me, basically tell me a piece of media that fits in this genre that really connects to you. Because if we talk about it, then what I think we'll get to is what you really like. So for instance, maybe if I'll do me real quick. If asked, one of my favorite episodes of all time is called The First Duty. I think that's the name of the episode.
With the cadets?
Yes, yeah. The cadet accident on Earth, right? Yep. The First Duty. And what I love about that episode, and it's what I love about Star Trek, is that the vast majority of the stories are about duty, right? It's about doing the right thing, even when it's hard. It's about doing the right thing in the face of evil, adversity, whatever. So for me, the thing I need out of a Star Trek game is duty,
Yep.
I need that to be part of the game. So for me, I would be more interested in playing a Star Trek game that is about a bridge crew than I would be about like, and it could be any bridge crew, but more interested in that than playing a group of like free breen traders.
Yes.
Like that's not really going to do it for me. Like, but playing a bridge crew on a starship, whether it's a Romulan starship, my preference would be Federation because I like good guys, but like that would be important to me. So one of those ways to kind of get out of people what they like is to get them to tell you about an example of the media that surrounds this genre.
Yeah.
And then just like, and have them explain to you their favorite part or why they really like this episode. And they'll, whether they're aware of it or not, they'll cough up the thing that they're interested in.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be a good way to elicit some more information.
You know, and if it's not something like that, you could do it with, name your favorite fantasy book, name your favorite science fiction series. If they haven't seen, if somebody wants to play Dungeons and Dragons or they want to play generic superhero game, it doesn't have to be something specific. They just talk about their favorite superhero moment.
Yep.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like if we're playing, like, I'm setting up my icons game, right? And if I, to get this answer, if I need to go about it in an obtuse way, like, tell me your favorite comic book movie moment or comic moment. Like, I'll learn a lot.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's like, that's the, I don't want to say it's sneaky. It's it is the way to coax that out because everybody has a favorite something.
Yep.
And people love to tell you their favorite things.
Definitely.
So as I couldn't resist to tell you about the first duty, right?
Yeah.
So just goes to show you, right? Like people can't help themselves to do those things. So that's a good way to kind of tease that out. So yeah, it's a good exercise. And I think Jerry touched on it before. It also doesn't hurt to actually do that as a campaign check-in.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Right? Campaign maintenance time. Do a little check-in.
Yep.
How are we doing? Are we all still loving the same things about this game?
As we figured out with our Forbidden Lands game, like we did our session 0, we said we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and we have ideas and thoughts and feelings. And then we went like 16 sessions and never checked back in with that stuff.
Right.
Like, are we all good? Are we?
Yeah.
Did we miss something?
Yeah.
Which is actually the reason why I added the character stuff in, because that was the thing I was missing.
Yeah.
And it also might change. What you had in mind for your character when you started the game may change drastically by the end, to the point where maybe you found something about the game or the world or the genre that that hooked you.
Yeah.
You liked. You started out you started out as the scoundrel and ended up as the romantic general who wants to save the princess or be saved by the princess. Take your choice.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the interesting things I've been seeing in Forbidden Lands is that Bob is emerging as the team lead. Like, the more time that goes by, Tirgar is more of the front of the team than everyone else.
Yeah, it's
and
kind of evolved that way.
And people are just kind of looking to you for that. And that's not a role you jump on when games get set up.
I'm not usually the first person to be like, I'll take team lead. Let's do this.
Right.
I'm usually more comfortable letting someone else point me in the right direction and then just doing my job. Right.
But for whatever reason, the way this game's unfolded, like people are looking to you, and it's been fun to actually play that.
I'm growing, man.
Yeah.
All right, we should jump into part 2.
Part 2 is media that we're consuming. So we're going to do with media what we just did with gaming, which is talk a little bit about a media that we're enjoying and kind of a related gaming topic. So where did we leave off? Jerry? Oh, I closed this out. Jerry, start us off.
I watched season 1 of True Detective. Which,
I've heard good things.
People told me a lot, and I like it a lot. It's definitely a bunch of things in my wheelhouse. It's a well-done true crime story. It's very noir. It's got really good, well-written characters with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson chewing the fuck out of the scenery, but in a way that's not obvious. And it's got a couple of, I don't want to say twists, but it's got some things in it that I liked. The story starts heading in a direction, and they drop some clues in that made me think, oh, they're gonna kind of play off this. They're gonna use this pop culture thing and just gonna play around with it. And no, they lean into it. And it's about cliches. I like, Bob and I were talking about this. Sometimes when you see or do something in a story, when you're doing an adventure, things come up that become very obvious that you're following this trope or this trope, because eventually tropes get repeated over and over again. But when you have a trope that pays off, or when you have a trope and you figure out what it is that the players want to do with it and let them do some of that, it might change your plot a little bit, or you might have to challenge them more. But seeing something and knowing where it's coming and then suddenly have it happen. I used to talk about this with movies, where sometimes you see something coming in a movie and you're like, oh, this is what's going to go on. All right, it'll be okay. Or, oh, this is what's going on. I'm disappointed. But every once in a while, it's oh, this is what's going on, and it's going to be awesome. I don't care that it's a cliche. We know the Marvel movies are great for this. You kind of know where the story beats are going to be and what's going to come up, and you don't care. Because you're like, oh, nope, we've been waiting for this the entire show. We're finally going to get to see, Thor be awesome or Hulk smash or whatever. The same thing in your stories or your plots for your adventures. You need to let the players occasionally see where things are going and let them go. And the other thing I want to just quickly, we've talked about this before. Red herrings in mystery games are a big no-no.
And I hate red herrings in role-playing games.
And I've suffered from them quite a bit in a couple recent games where we've had a bunch of red herrings that went nowhere. But I think there's a place for a red herring in a mystery game if the red herring gives them a resource they can use to help the plot later on. It doesn't have to be a clue, but if the red herring suddenly gives them like a contact or a resource or something that they can draw back on later on, and also shows them this was a red herring and now this is something, that would be the one time I would see it useful, because I can see that in a couple of games that I've done for mysteries, that perhaps setting up a red herring as a way to get the players to go get a resource first or get a better contact, that it's still a false clue, but has another reward. But the important caveat there is it points them back in the direction of the correct plot and gives them something they can use later on.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like the thing about red herrings I think is so frustrating is not that they're time wasters, is that the players begin to feel like we accomplished nothing by doing that.
They're non-productive.
Yes.
Non-productive.
Right? Nothing about a regular, like a true red herring. Nothing about a true red herring progresses anything, right? In fact, if anything, it stymies, right? But what you're talking about is taking a lead. I mean, essentially a red herring, but paying it off with something.
Yep.
Yes.
So
yes.
You're like, okay, no, this didn't go the way you wanted, but turns out that this person has a trinket that's going to help you.
That would be far more palatable to me.
Yes. Yeah, me too. Because that to me now is like, well, what you're doing is you're airing out your mystery, right? So rather than just having a very compact run through the clues, we've taken this little diversion, which has now stretched out the mystery a little. But because you were willing to take this little diversion, and again, this is all meta level stuff.
Yeah.
I will pay that off to you.
Yep.
So now you're stymie. You realize you didn't progress the mystery, but you've advanced something for your efforts. Yeah, I absolutely think if you're going to do if you're going to do a red herring like structure, paying it off with something is a good way to do that. And then again, if you do that, do like one of them.
Yeah.
Like don't overuse it.
Not every other scene is one of right, because people won't enjoy that.
Yeah.
I also learned one other thing about just media in general, which is one of the quickest ways to piss me off is to have a story that is touted as and looks like it has a supernatural bent, and have it turn out to just be they're crazy, they're dreaming, or somebody's playing a trick on them.
Right.
If you're gonna bring something supernatural into a storyline, pay it off.
Yeah.
I literally have stopped a couple of movies because I realized recently I was watching a movie. I won't tell which one because I want to ruin it for people to watch. I was watching a movie that looked like it was a supernatural movie. Realized about halfway through what I thought was going on. Just turned the movie off and read the summary on Wikipedia because I didn't want to be pissed off. I wasted another hour watching the movie.
Yeah.
I had to know how it ended. But that's another thing with your players. If you're giving them a hook and they're obviously enjoying where you're going with it, don't bait and switch them.
Yep.
So anyway, that's my summary. And if you like noir, good characters, well done stories, good acting, good directing, and slightly creepy plot lines, True Detective's really good.
I should
There you
probably
go.
watch it.
All right, Phil.
This weekend, because my son had not seen it, and because I am a good father, we watched The Bourne Identity.
Yes.
Ooh.
Good stuff.
A movie that has lost nothing in the time since it's been created. Yep. It is just chef's kiss. Like it is. I love that movie so much. It is easily in my top 10 favorite movies.
We should specify the Matt Damon version, not the Richard Chamberlain version.
Correct. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry.
Totally different movies.
Very different. Very different. No. The Matt Damon and the first three, let's not confuse them with the fourth one with Jeremy Renner or the fifth one with Matt Damon. Those last two are inferior to the first three. The first three are a tour de force of action movies. So we watched the first one, and it got me on the thought of an amnesia campaign, right? Like, I have thought about amnesia campaigns before. I ran one once in high school where I played a Ninjas and Super Spies game where I had the player's character sheet and the player had a blank character sheet. And as they woke up in a hospital, not knowing who they were, and then like somebody was coming to kill them, and as they began play and like they discovered stuff, I would tell them to write certain things on their sheet, like, "Oh, you have drive at 70%." Like that kind of thing. And like, we never finished the campaign because we were in high school, because I was incapable of finishing stuff like that. But it also got me thinking about the beginning of the Amber Chronicles, where Corwin wakes up with no memory and isn't sure what's going on. And I love the idea of what that campaign, the potential of that campaign, right? Because it's the idea of who the character thinks they are versus who they really were, and reconciling that. Like, there's the moment in Bourne Identity where Jason figures out that he was the person who probably tried to kill Wombosi,
Yep.
right? And then like freaked out about it. Those, it's those things, right? So it's a really, like, I don't know. I find it very compelling. I don't think it works great, and I've seen people do it at a party level. But I think that if you were doing a one-on-one game, like, I think you could have a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
With a really, like, it requires a decent amount of prep, but you could have some real fun with an amnesia campaign. And someday, maybe I'll heap that onto my someday list. Like, someday that might be interesting.
We did that as a story arc in college for Villains and Vigilantes. I had the players roll up characters like 2 months in advance, and then gave them blank character sheets and had them wake up as basically patients and subjects in a recruitment area, and they had to figure out what their powers were and then why they were there and what happened. It was not as smooth as some of the stuff you guys have done, but it was something that still worked because everybody went into it knowing that they weren't going to know what was going on and have to figure out their powers.
I'm just going to mention something that I see Senda and Schmitty talking about, which I want to bring up, is that this is a campaign that requires a lot of trust. And It is a campaign that having a safety discussion at the beginning would be really important, because finding out that you are a secret government assassin is one thing, right? Because even when Bourne recovers his memories from the Wombosi assassination, right? He remembers that the reason he didn't do the assassination was because Wombosi's kids were laying on top of him.
Yeah.
And he couldn't bring himself to pull the trigger, right? So he was a bad person, but he had limits, right? The last thing you want to find out at the height of your amnesia campaign is that you were Anakin in the temple during Order 66, right? Like the thing that your guy was known for was like slaughtering the younglings.
Yeah, you don't want to be dancing around the room going, when there's younglings all around me, I'd be hacking them all up.
Right.
I'd be hacking them all up.
Exactly. Like, so there is a safety to do an amnesia game. There is a safety component of like, okay, what things would you not want to discover about your character? Yeah. Right. And I think that's important because you could be really disturbed, like all of a sudden finding out like, oh yeah, you're a child killer. What?
Yeah.
Like, cool. I'm going to just go to the nearest bridge and throw myself off of it. End of campaign.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
big discussion before you play that game.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that because I was just kind of at a high level waxing poetically about the idea of an amnesia campaign. But seeing Schmitty and Senda talk about that in the chat room made me really think like, oh no, this is where like this is where a reveal thing where, again, as a GM, you think you're being clever, could go horribly wrong.
Oh yeah,
horribly wrong. That is some really you could do some serious damage screwing that up.
Yep.
All right. Anyway, we'll leave that because that was my little tidbit. I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to go to Bob. We're going to skip the other stuff part because I think based on our timing, we will be on time if we drop the other stuff section because we have definitely gone.
Yeah, we went a little long on the other parts, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
So yeah, I was debating while you guys were finishing that up which one of these two that I put in the notes I wanted to talk about. I think I'm going to go with the. I've been watching basically the season finales, essentially, of all of the CW superhero shows in the Arrowverse. And the interesting thing about this season is because of the corona pandemic, they did not get to finish filming everything. So they were supposed to go 22 episodes for pretty much all of these shows, and they wrapped them up on episode 20 and stopped the season and went to break. Which we have had discussions before about wrapping up your arcs. And this is a definite case of we've got to wrap this arc up prematurely. How do we want to do this? As like we were supposed to go over here to the left. Now we got to try and figure out what do we snip? What can we tweak so that we have a satisfying conclusion for everybody that's watching? And take that into your game. It's like, okay, we've got to kill this campaign. We want to end it in a clean way. We don't want to just walk away from it, but we have to end it next session. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And we've had that discussion before, and I think it's a fascinating topic because you want to get that satisfying conclusion so everybody walks away going, yeah, we closed that, without just lopping it off.
Yeah.
But if you've got some interesting things going on, sometimes you've got to juggle some stuff or you've got to be like, all right, we've got to clean this one thing up for sure and maybe let some of this other stuff fall off to the wayside. And they had some interesting bits after reading a couple of articles about where they were supposed to go with the Flash in particular, where they were like, oh, well, we're not going to get to do these last two episodes to get us to the spot we wanted. So we're just going to go right here, and this is going to be our end. And they did a nice job of it. But
that's cool.
It's a weird side effect of all of this stuff. Everybody's got to go into lockdown and say, well, we didn't finish filming all of this stuff for the season. So what do we do? So you got to go into scramble mode and be like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is all right, well, let's get creative. How are we wrapping it? Like, where can we, where can we end this campaign now?
Yeah. Is there anything that you as a player are not particularly invested in, that you're like, I don't really care if we get a resolution to this one piece of story, or like I'm like, whatever, I don't have to have an answer to this one piece. It's this main thing over here. If I get that, I'm going to be a happy guy. So yeah, that was an interesting series of episodes.
All right. Well, good. Let us wrap up. Let us wrap up another relaxing evening in the salon. Yeah. My hunch is we will be back in the salon next week as well to talk about the cool things about gaming that relate to what we've been doing. Yeah. And in the meantime, let's bounce over to the conversation corner.
Yeah, let's go a little Super Friends again here. That never gets old. I'm sorry.
I don't think that can ever get old.
It's not as cool as, Definition Panda, but, it's still...
No, but the Super Friends sound...
It's so nostalgic and
It's the sound of my childhood.
Yeah.
yes, but Definition Panda doesn't have green scaly shorts, so...
Yeah.
At least not yet, so...
So cool. Conversation corner, just kind of talking about what's going on in our lives,
Yeah.
What is going on in our lives? Like, I mean, we are living beyond this pandemic, right? Like, we are living and existing.
Yep.
So, Bob, what about you, man? Like, what's going on?
So, I just talked about, the TV season finales are all are starting to wrap up. I finished up. I didn't even realize I hit the end of the season of Magnum PI, and I went, wait a minute, was that the season finale? And I went and I looked, and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, wow, that has a definitive ending kind of a feel to it. And then I went, oh, wait, no more Magnum until the fall or later. Probably later. Probably spring next year before we're going to get new stuff. But on the flip side of that, there are always shows that have been filmed and put in the can and set off to the side to bring in as summer shows or mid-season replacements and things like that. So while these shows are ending, we've got new stuff starting up. I believe this week, if I'm not mistaken, it's the first episode of the final season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is going to be very interesting. So while some things are coming to an end, there's new stuff coming up. And the good thing about season finale season is that if I don't have to watch 6 different shows from the syndicated series, from all the series that have been running kind of live, now I can go back and start spending some of those hours on binging things. Send is pounding me in the head over here in the chat room with She-Ra.
Yeah, I see that.
She-Ra's on the list, but unfortunately She-Ra's not at the top of the list.
There are I need to put on the moderator controls.
There are several things that have to come before She-Ra, unfortunately. I understand, and I love the fact that She-Ra was so good for you, Senda, for Andy. Like, it touched you in ways that were very important for you. Like, that is cool. I love that.
Yes. I have a question for you about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I watched all of season 1, kind of fell off the radar, came back to me. Is it possible to skip season 2? Because it just seems like it's not going. I've got like 3 episodes into season 2, and nothing seems to be really going on, and a bunch of the characters are not doing anything. I understand cool stuff happens in later seasons, but do I have to wade through season 2, or are there any, like, just watch these 3 episodes and you'll get the good stuff?
It's you could probably do it, but it's a Marvel property, okay?
Yeah.
And just like the TV series, the other TV series that they've got, and the movies, there's a lot of, we're going to seed this thing here, and it's going to come back into play later. And if it comes back into play and you didn't see it seeded, sometimes that affects the way the story unfolds.
Okay.
There's
like with Jessica Jones, you could have skipped like all but 2 episodes of season 2 and not lost anything in season 3.
Yeah. I would say stick it out, give Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a chance.
Okay.
And if it slogs for a little bit, I didn't feel like season 2 really dragged. I thought season 1 was really the worst because they had all of that fluff to build up to the reveal of Hydra. And then the show really took off. And I've heard people complain, well, it's not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore because S.H.I.E.L.D. collapsed. Well, whatever. Shut up. Like, it's still, they're trying to be S.H.I.E.L.D. even though S.H.I.E.L.D. as a whole, when I touched the microphone, touched my head. Okay. But yeah, I give it a shot. There's fun stuff that comes along, and there's stuff that pays off much later. But yeah, I find it to be entertaining.
Yeah, so, well, that's cool. Yeah, that's what I want to see. I just want to see it pay off.
Yeah, so. Evil John's got it right. It's Coulson's Heroes.
That's Coulson's Heroes. That's
Coulson's
great.
Heroes. So yeah, that's the thing that's been going on with me, watching the season finales and getting ready for some of the new stuff and switching over to the binging. The other thing that I've been doing is I have been doing a lot of when I've been cooking, which I've been doing a lot more of. I have been doing a lot more cleaning on the fly. Traditionally, it's been prep a meal, all the pans and whatever accoutrement from the prep goes into the sink. Sometimes it sits there longer than it should. Eventually, a bunch of that stuff makes its way into the dishwasher. The dishwasher gets run. Some of the other stuff gets washed by hand, whatever. But I have been doing a lot of, I'm going to make breakfast, and I'm going to cook eggs and put them into a wrap and make a breakfast burrito. And I'll get to the point where I mix the eggs in a bowl. I put butter in the pan. I heat it up. I put the eggs in. I start cooking that. I put the tortilla in the microwave to heat it up. I get the burrito made. I wrap it. I put it on the plate again. And then I turn around. I rinse out the bowl that's got the raw egg in it so there's not raw egg sitting in the sink in case that gets left for a while. I take the pan sometimes. I put the pan right into the sink. And a couple times I've actually just picked up the pan and just washed the pan because we have some really good nonstick frying pans that, like, real quick, boom, whoosh, run a sponge across it with some soap and it's clean. Boom, put it in the drying rack, and done. Walk away and then go eat my breakfast. I've been doing a lot more of cleaning on the fly, which is leaving less dishes in the sink and less dishes that have to go into the dishwasher. Which honestly, you're supposed to run your dishwasher more often with not a full load because it takes less water than doing a load of dishes from the sink, but it's a balancing act. But that's what I've been up to. So what do we got, Jerry?
That was Conversation Corner pretty much. All I've really been doing this week, aside from that, is catching up on a few things. Like I said, I watched True Detective, which ate a ton of things, a ton of time, and caught the end of the Clone Wars, which did a good job of wrapping things up. Clone Wars, mid-story, they had some really bad episodes, and then all of a sudden they wrapped it back up again in the end. I walked away from the Clone Wars is coming out one episode a week. They got to the mid-story, around about episode 6, and I didn't bother coming back until all the episodes were out because we're like, oh no, the last couple episodes are good. But so that was a really good payoff. So if you're watching, if you're like me, and the second of 3 story arcs in the last episode of Clone Wars is bogging you down, just get through it. It gets really good again. And of course, Rick and Morty is back, and good God, it's amazing.
I got to start watching. I gotta just take a little time and just watch the ones that have come out. It's only been a couple episodes.
Find a way to acquire it.
This week's was really harsh. Bob, talk to me afterwards. This week's one was just really hard. This was I don't know what the name of the episode was, but this was my battery sort of episode level of.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna go watch. I'm gonna go watch some episodes tonight. I think after I'm done playing some Minecraft. That's good.
It's very satisfying. It's very satisfying. So that's my and obviously I'm building more Legos and finding little things to enjoy. Digging out a lot of more modern sets that I have sitting around, and just building 1 or 2 a week to just kind of enjoy myself and see how things. I always like to see how. I like the simplicity of older sets. I like the kind of simple design of the stuff from the 70s and 80s when they had a limited brick selection and a lot of the vehicles and stuff look the same. Those of you who follow me on Facebook, every couple of weeks I'll put up a picture of, hey, I put together all these cars. You see how they all kind of fit the same theme. One of the things that's neat about newer Lego sets is seeing how they build more complicated constructions and contraptions. I'm not a big fan of active play. Like, I don't care if I hit this button and this flings open. I hate that. I don't need those things. I can do that myself. But I like to see how they make blocks work together, make stuff assemble. And sometimes they just put things, they'll take 5 blocks, put them together, and all of a sudden, oh my God, that's a coffee maker. Or that's a drill press or something like that. Again, very similar to how in Minecraft you put 2 sets of stairs and a post and a plate, and all of a sudden you've got a table and chairs kind of thing. So that's it for my comment. That's really it. It was not so much stuff. So Phil?
Yeah, I got a package from Jet Pens as I've been buying myself little things like for the last couple of weeks. I didn't go overboard. I almost did, but they because things have been slowed down because of the pandemic, they don't have their threshold for free shipping, right? So they normally have like buy $25 worth of stuff, get free shipping. So I will always buy $25 worth of stuff. But in this case, since they did not have free shipping, I was like, well, I'll just get what I need this time around. So I got myself a new pen case because I was busting at the seams with the smaller pen case I had. So I now have this much bigger pen case that has room for my refills and scissors and all not just my pens, but like all the other bullshit that kind of goes with my pen kit. And I've been messing around with, Glenn gave me a beginner's fountain pen. And I've been messing around with it. I haven't actually done any homework, like watched any videos or stuff. I'm left-handed, so a fountain pen is it's a curiosity because writing left-handed is hard enough. Writing left-handed with precision is just it's just a whole other challenge. But I've been messing around with it. Like I've just been taking notes in meetings with it and things like that. But I really like. One, we all know my love for Jet Pens, but I've been over the course of this pandemic, I've been like slowly upgrading my gear. Like I've been buying nicer pouches. I've been buying like if we ever go back out into the world, like my kit is fucking set, right? Like I've got really cool sling pack that has all my, my mask and all, hand sanitizer and shit for decontaminating stuff. And I've got, this fantastic travel pouch for my iPad for plane flights, and now my writing utensils are upgraded. Oh, and the other thing I bought besides the pen case was and I don't know why it doesn't come with it, but I bought the clip that goes onto my really nice pencil. You've all seen that brass pencil I have. There's a clip that goes onto that pencil that actually like lets it then sit in like pockets and pen cases and things like that without just rolling around. So anyway, I did that. I have continued my binging of DS9. I have not lost any momentum on it. It amuses me how much I remember and don't remember simultaneously because I get excited when all of a sudden things happen in episodes and I'm like, dumbass, you've seen this. Like you've seen this all before, but somehow I don't remember certain things. I love DS9, right? It's the 90s Star Trek, right? It's everything about Star Trek, but gritty in 90s, and they even drink, coffee, much like you did in the 90s, which I still do now. So I've been enjoying that. I've been reading in Marvel Unlimited, I've been reading the X titles. So because Marvel Unlimited lags behind regular Marvel, all of the first issues of all the new X titles, now that they've done the whole Powers of X thing, have come out. So Marauders 1, X-Force, X-Men, Excalibur came out. I'm not a big fan of Excalibur. No, I don't really like that much magic in my Marvel. I tolerate Doctor Strange, and then after that, my interest decreases. So not so much Excalibur. What's the other one? Oh, New Mutants. New Mutants 1, which has also been a lot of fun.
So who is in the Marauders of Excalibur now?
So it's interesting. The Marauders are led by Kate Pryde.
Okay.
There's an interesting thing, and no one knows why. Like, I don't know how much of this background you know, but for whatever reason, Kate can't use any of the portals to get to the island. Was it Karatoa, the island, the living island? For whatever reason, the portals won't let her cross. So she has taken a ship, literally took a ship, and she has I forget who the other characters are that are with her on that one. But she's traveling around and rescuing mutants and bringing them to Karatoa, the sanctuary. So it's good. So she's basically a pirate, right? Like she's, which is kind of fun to see Kate Pryde, the pirate. Plus, it's also fun to see a more adult Kate Pryde. I'm purposely calling her Kate, not Kitty.
Yeah.
She is people forget she is a badass unto herself, right? Like she is, I mean, her power, first of all, the things she can do with her power are pretty cool, but in the 80s, she got like trained by a ninja, right? Like she is a badass. And it's actually fun seeing her in kind of a leadership and badass role in the comic book. So I've been enjoying those a lot, actually. I've liked those, and then I'm continuing to cook new and different stuff. I've been trying to pull recipes out. I did some Korean beef, some stir fry Korean beef this past weekend, which was delicious. I had a lot of fun cooking it. I will definitely cook it again, and I'm gonna borrow one of Senda's recipes this weekend. I'm going to make scallion pancakes because I love them when I get takeout, and not every takeout place does scallion pancakes. So I'm going to make scallion pancakes, and I'm going to get some frozen pot stickers. And I'm going to make myself a little brunch on either Saturday or Sunday. I haven't decided yet.
Cool.
But pot stickers and scallion pancakes is going to be my brunch.
I've decided that I need to get some muffin mix. I'm going to make some muffin tops. I have two muffin top pans. One is a regular muffin top pan, and one is actually the Spider-Man head.
Okay.
It's got a bunch of Spider-Man cavities on it, and all muffin tops because the muffin top is the best part of the muffin.
So let me mention really quickly, I was, as I often do, I take a drive in the afternoon and I swing through Tim Hortons to grab a coffee and sometimes a donut. And they were just putting up the stuff that's coming out tomorrow at Tim Hortons. So I'd like to just note two things. One, bagel bites.
What?
They look like Timbits, but they're filled with like flavored cream cheeses and stuff.
It sounds good.
And then the other one was the dulce donut. So
yes.
I'm like, okay, well, guess I'm going to Tim's tomorrow. Like I'm gonna need to survey like this new Tim's stuff. Like I'm gonna need a couple of these bagel bites and a dulce, and dulce donut, I think is, I'm going to need to figure this. I'm going to need to sample this. I'll report back after I've sampled. But with that, we're getting close to the 10 o'clock hour. We should depart and live for another day. But before we depart, does somebody want to give us some patron shout-outs?
I would love to do the Patreon shout-outs. Alrighty. We've got Brandon Barnes, the Old School DM, the Mad Wizard Sean Merwin, Troy Sandlin, Will Doyle, Zach Goings, Chris Constantine, Cindy Moore, Eric Mengi, and Eric Simon. Thank you, everyone, for listening tonight.
If you are free on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. the Queen's time, you're welcome. Come join us live on Twitch, where you can chat with the other awesome listeners in the greatest chat room ever, the chat room for life, and, ask us the occasional question along the way.
If you cannot make it to the live show, check out our podcast each week, wherever you get your podcasts, and take a listen to some of the other shows in the Misdirected Mark Network, such as Down with D&D, Bone Sword and Obsidian, the FM Gamers, Panda's Talking Games, the Gnome Cast, John Who Hustle, She's a Super Geek, and Bonus Experience. You can and should also check out our sibling podcasts, Tabletop Bellhop, Knights of the Night, and the always amazing Gaming and BS.
After you have polled all of your players for what they find to be the most interesting and feeds them in the game, leave us some feedback. You can reach us directly. The old-fashioned emails, mmp@misdirectedmark.com. You can check us out on Twitter. The show and the network is Misdirected, at MisdirectedMark. He is at Robert M. Everson. He is at GM Gerrymander. And I remain DNA Phil.
If you like what we do here and on the other shows in the Misdirected Mark Network, you can support our Patreon campaigns. MMP, Down with D&D, and Panda's Talking Games are at patreon.com/MMP. She's a Super Geek is at patreon.com/SassGeek. Zhang Who Hustle is at patreon.com/Zhang Who Hustle. And Bonus Experience is at patreon.com/Bonus Experience. Patrons of MMP, Down with D&D, and Panda's Talking Games get access to the after show, the pre-production show notes, musical parodies, the Panda's Talking Games bonus outtakes, and other special releases.
This has been a Misdirected Mark production, the media arm of Encoded Designs. Mic drop.
We out.